Okay, so hello everyone. Today is Wednesday, August the 30th, and
Goodness.
we are. Hey, is it 30 days in August? Is no,
31. We got
Friday is the first. It's
one
31
more
in August.
one
Yeah,
more day. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So this is a Course in Miracles, and we are in chapter 3, the innocent perception. The second section of that, which is miracles as true perception, and we are on paragraph 5, which seems to be pretty meaty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Uh would you like for me to begin in prayer?
No, I can.
Okay, go ahead.
Let us sit back, relax, take a full, deep, cleansing breath. And as we inhale, realize that we're taking in healing, knowledge, truth. And as we let go all of the impurities in our thoughts, our hearts, and our minds. And as we begin this session today, we are grateful for this time that we're able to spend together. Give us the knowledge and understanding and wisdom that we use this knowledge and understanding not only to better our lives, but to better the lives of all that we come in contact with. And with that, I say, and so it is.
And so it is. Okay, would you like to begin?
Okay. Nothing can prevail against a son of God who commends his spirit into the hands of his Father. By doing this, the mind awakens from its sleep and remembers its creator. All sense of separation disappears. The Son of God is part of the Holy Trinity, but the Trinity itself is one. There is no confusion within its levels because they are of one mind and one will. This single purpose creates perfect integration and establishes the peace of God. Yet, this vision can be perceived only by the truly innocent. Because their hearts are pure, the innocent defend true perception instead of defending themselves against it. Understanding the lesson of the atonement, they are without the wish to attack, and therefore they see truly. This is what the Bible means when it says, when he shall appear or be perceived, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. Nothing can prevail against the Son of God who commends his spirit unto the hands of his Father. Wow.
What does commend mean? Give?
Let me look it up. You know me. I ain't playing no guessing games with words. Oh, man. They are in. Commends, praise formally or officially. Oh. Present
Praise,
praise, Praise,
formally or
or officially.
Officially. Okay, that's different.
It's a verb. And the second definition, present as suitable for approval or acceptance, recommended. And for the first one, he says he was commended by the judge for his courageous actions. So that kind of, I think, clarifies praise formally or officially.
But that's nothing we do, though. And what's the second one again?
The second one, the second definition.
The verb.
Both of them are verbs. Present as suitable for approval or acceptance.
Present as suitable for approval or
acceptance. Recommendation. Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, see, that's why it's really good to look up words, because, I have always heard that, when Jesus says, I can, unto thee, I commend my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But so if he's making something, he's making his spirit suitable for or recommended for ascension.
Mm-hmm.
See, I always thought it meant to give. He gave his spirit over. I'm not.
Well, if you look at the second definition, present as suitable, that's giving.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I guess that kind of, because eventually that is what we have to do. We have to give up this whole idea of separation.
Mm-hmm.
That, that my spirit is something that I have to hold on to, or that it's and it's that ego-centeredness, is that ego-centeredness where I still feel that, this is mine. It's mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's mine to give.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have to give up that mindset, because in order to be whole, we can, nothing can be reserved.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hold back. You have to give wholeheartedly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I see that.
Mm-hmm. So when you present yourself, as nothing can fail against a son of God who commends his spirit into the hands of the Father. So when we present ourselves into the hands of the Father, which and I guess just thinking of like the hand of God, it means like emplacement, a place, I guess attachment, a place of where you live, where you have made a decision,
Mm-hmm.
To be. So when I present myself into the hands of the Father, that, like to keep, that's what I think of as the hand of the Father, is to keep, to hold on to,
Yeah. I was just looking to see if either the glossary or the revealing word had a definition, but I don't see anything in either one.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are different studies, to do on, like God's body parts, his right hand, his hand,
Right. Right.
those things like that, they all mean something.
Exactly. And they all have a purpose.
And they all have a purpose. Yeah.
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 And
So
of
when you
course,
say it, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so this is saying that when you present yourself to be kept in the, by the Father,
Mhm.
and nothing can prevail against you. And when you think about that, you really don't worry about too much. Some things might, some things might annoy you, or some
Mhm.
things might, just a minute. Some things may annoy you, or some things may, uh, you know, uh, uh,
Irritate
entice
you.
you, or something, but I forgot what I was saying. Oh, yeah. Is that it can't it can't be we can't be affected by it. I can't. If what I bounced the check. Okay, I've done that before.
Mhm.
It's gonna be okay.
Mhm.
You know. So and if you get sick, okay, I'm healed. I'm already healed. So,
Mhm.
what is there for me to worry about? Nothing can prevail against me.
Exactly. Exactly. I I was thinking about, and I have been thinking about that session that we had on, who was it, Sunday with
Mm-hmm.
Richard
Mm-hmm.
about sea bears.
Mm-hmm.
And today I was going over some of the material for next, not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday for the chakra class.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, Course in Miracles, Course in Miracles. And it just, you know, I don't know. Sometimes things get so, it's like a tossed salad. And when you mix everything together, it not only is it tasty and nourishing, but it's also beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what I'm, and I probably rattling on, but what it all boils down to me, for me, is whatever is recommended, we just, kind of go with the flow. Nothing can prevail against the Son of God who commends his spirit into the
Mm-hmm.
hands of his Father. And when we give ourselves wholeheartedly, and there's that word that you were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
when we give ourselves
Mm-hmm.
wholeheartedly to his service, or to whatever the
Mm-hmm.
situation might be, it's all going to turn out for the good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And especially when we see it that way,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I guess this is what, miracles as true perception is all about.
Exactly.
Because and I was watching Great Expectations not too long ago, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it was Mrs. Havisham. I think that was her name. The lady who was so bitter about her wedding, that she kept everything there, and she still had on her wedding dress, and she taught the young girl how to be cruel so that she could hurt somebody who loved them, so that she could pay back that type of hurt and that type of pain.
Mm-hmm.
How if she could have just seen it a different way, that, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I did not marry this person. He was going to run out on me the first chance he got.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mhm.
So, but I guess, that's why I think that why A Course in Miracles is really helping me see is how we perceive things. What
Yeah.
is it, what lens am I looking at this through? And just like you were talking about sea bears, what do I believe about this? What is my emotion that is connected to this, or that I am creating because of what I believe?
Mhm. Mhm.
You want to read number 2?
Um, wait, where is, oh. By doing this, the mind awakens from its sleep and remembers its creator. Wow. The mind awakens from its sleep and
Mhm.
remembers its creator.
And I guess when, for me, it's the wholeness of it. Because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get, we get little glimpses all the time,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then, so I guess those are always some levels of awareness or awakening. But I do look forward to the day. And then again, sometimes I said, how do I know I'm not already there? How do I know that my mind is not already fully awake, and I'm only seeing it as, limited. I'm still looking to limitation, but I'm not seeing, because I'm not seeing the whole thing. So perception is very important, how you
Yes,
see
it is.
it.
Yes,
Mhm.
it is. You're so right about that. Yeah.
This is kind of what my meditation was this morning. I knew I knew that A Course in Miracles was going to confirm it. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh I was thinking about the omnipresence.
Mm-hmm.
And the title of the movie that came up to me was Everything. What was that movie? Um Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I
And
don't remember that one.
okay. It was it won the Oscar last year. Um but anyway, it, it was a weird movie to me. The movie was weird. But
What
the
you say?
con
Everything, everywhere.
yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
Oh, it was real. It's but the whole thing is that, you know, um when we allow ourselves to be to perceive all that there is, and know that, and that's okay. This is what I was thinking about today when I was thinking about um uh omnipresence. When
Mm-hmm.
everything, source is everything everywhere all at once. There
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
there is no separation. And even if it looks separate because of our limited view of things,
Mm-hmm.
when we actually look at it good, we can see that it really is interconnected and
Exactly.
and intertwined.
Exactly. And when you said that, you know what I thought about? The uh well, when we talk about the triangle and the Trinity, three, and what's a triangle but three lines connected at a each one is connected to the other one at a point,
Hmm.
and they're all connected.
Hmm.
3 points, but one um what do I want to say?
That sounds
one
like Trump.
object.
Oh,
Huh?
okay. Oh,
Yeah,
one object. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
oh, one thing.
One thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Richard, we started a little late. We didn't even come on until like
Quarter
5:15.
after.
So we're really just on the second sentence.
Got you. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, well, y'all was just talking about the Trinity, right? Is that what y'all is
Well,
that what you were just talking about here, Harry?
yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Just checking in, just checking in. Okay, good to see y'all.
Okay. Yeah.
Did
Because
you
I
have
think that
any?
was a rabbit hole.
No,
I mean,
no,
it
I actually
fit
came in.
it.
I came in at the right time, so
Yeah, you
that's
did. Yeah,
beautiful.
you did. Yeah, you did. And this is what we're talking about is because well, we can just briefly go over first sentence again. Nothing can prevail against a son of God who commends his spirit into the hands of his father. So we saw that commends means to present. What was it again, Harriet? To present.
Wait a minute. Let me pull it up again.
Uh-huh. Something that's
Oh,
yeah. Go ahead.
no, I
Oh,
didn't clear my
oh,
thingamajig. So I got something strange. Praise formally or officially present as suitable for approval or acceptance. Is that the one you would?
yes.
Yeah, okay. Present as suitable for approval or acceptance.
Present as suitable for what?
Approval
Oh, approval.
or
Yeah, yeah.
or
Oh,
acceptance.
acceptance. Recommend.
Semicolon. Recommended.
And that's what we were talking about is that um, when we present ourselves wholly, completely into the hands of the Father, and we estimated that through different way of looking at things, that the hand is where you hold on to things, where you keep something, um, where that your hand is kind of like that where you keep something safe. You hold on to it. You hold your child's hand to keep your or your
Keep them
lover's
safe.
hand. Yeah.
Mhm.
So to keep things safe.
Got
Um
you.
so this is that that's kind of the theme that we were going by. And then by the time we got to the second sentence, by doing this, the mind awakens from its sleep and remembers its creator. And I was telling Harriet, I don't know if you had an opportunity to see the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. Did you see that?
No, I haven't.
Well, the movie was strange, but it still was a good movie because but it reminds us that source is everywhere.
Mhm.
All is everything everywhere all at once. I mean, there is no distinction between source and another thing. Say a palm tree and the sand beside it, it's all the same, basically chemical makeup, you know. And because first of all of it's manifestation, so when we see ourselves as that, we our mind wakes up to that. We stop being asleep and unconscious to the wholeness of it, you know. And then we that's when that part where we remember its creator. We remember our creator simply because we are now that much of a part of creation, that we can see it, be it, but not afraid of the individualism. And so that's how the Trinity came in. The thing, that's how we came in with the Trinity, because we were saying there's still only there's three. The appearances is three separate things, but it's still one item.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
This
just to
is
catch
called.
you up, just to
th-
catch you up on where we are.
There's a term for that, and it's called because in our vocabulary there is not a term that in our English language there is not a term that describes that.
Mm,
And the term that's starting to be used now, and I've been using it for like the last 6 months, is
mhm.
intra connection or
Interconnection.
intra
Yes.
dependence.
Mhm,
INTRA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so, like when you think about it in the job place, when y'all was working at CW, so I'll use CW as an example. CW
Mhm,
has its own individual departments and they
mhm,
Mhm.
operate as their departments, and but they identify, but the people in the departments identify with the department first before they identify with the whole of Colonial Williamsburg.
Right.
It's just
Mhm,
like,
Mhm.
a couple that's in a relationship. She's a man,
mhm.
she's a woman, he's a man. They build into all of those identities rather than a core identity that guides both of them in a shared direction.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
so this is interesting to think about the Trinity in that way. And as verse 3 is saying, when you understand all of this, all sense of separation disappears because we
Mhm.
understand ourselves as one
Mhm.
and many all at the same
All at
time.
the same time.
Mhm.
Yes.
Somebody
Mhm.
said recently, I think this is Bashar, who does channeling messages. He said, you all are over 1 billion puzzle pieces spread out across the globe that forgot that you all make one puzzle.
Mhm.
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 And that has blown my mind since that moment. So yeah, all sense of separation disappears.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Number 4. The Son of God is part of the Holy Trinity, but the Trinity itself is one. And that's what you were just saying a few minutes ago, Harriet.
Mhm.
Mm.
The Son of God, which is me, is part of the Holy Trinity, which is the place without separation. But the Trinity itself is one, and and that's a actually that's a very comforting thought.
It is. And just think about it not only as far as the Trinity is concerned, but just think about the body. You have hands, you have feet, you have a face, you
Mhm,
have a head. They
mhm,
all, they're different parts, but they all go to make up Penelope Carroll, Richard Joseph.
mhm,
Mhm.
You know.
mhm.
And I think that's where it gets interesting is when we uh find ourselves identifying more with the self
Yeah.
rather than the collective,
Mhm.
Mhm,
then we find that we have a lot of confusion.
mhm.
Have a
With,
lot
with,
of, say
with, with
that again?
I said when we think of ourselves and we identify as ourself
Mhm.
rather than seeing our identity as part of the whole,
Mhm.
then we get into a state of confusion. Like it just becomes like everything becomes now confusion because everything is built up off of an illusion.
Right.
Okay, question. We see ourselves, um, what was the word you used? As,
Self identity.
yeah, okay. But then once we realize who we are, then then we can see ourselves as part of another, or part of a unit, a universe. And you just used the example of Colonial Williamsburg.
Mhm.
We were all a part of that family, so to speak. And whoever I hope I am anyway, getting to the point where not only do I see myself as part of, say, Inner Haven, or begin with myself as a part of Inner Haven, as a citizen of the city of Newport News, a citizen of the state of Virginia or Commonwealth of Virginia, whatever you want to call it. And, it just kind of spreads out from there. We have to know ourselves first so that we can be a part of that unit, and what can we individually contribute to make that unit whole and peaceful and calm, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, the sequence as I understand it is, and as we're talking here, the complexity is understanding that both things exist at the same time, that we are an individual and we're part of the collective. But when I understand that we are all connected to one, we all are part of one consciousness. As I understand that, then it means, okay, well then first, before I can, it's like, when we talk about being on a plane, I have to put the what you come over my face, the air over my face first, so that I can then be able to,
Help
provide
others.
for others.
Exactly.
I kind of equate that in that, when I become aware of who I am, when I understand the self, and the more that I disassociate with the ego, the more my ascension is felt and has a ripple effect, throughout the collective. And so like I always talk to people about, like this idea of self-love, and it's like self-love is beautiful. The ideal of self-love for me is understanding that self isn't just me, it's we. So I love myself not because of the egoic mind of, I got to be all right. I'm gonna be all right. I don't care what anybody else. No, like it's really about me being better, because that is throwing the rock into the pond and it ripples out. So how I conduct myself, how I operate, we are naturally, operating as beacons, for others, helping them to shift their reality to see what it is possible.
Right. And when you say self, that's a capital S instead of a small s.
Right. Right. So yeah, so this is interesting. The Son of God is part of the Holy Trinity, but the Trinity itself is one. And that says it exactly. And because it has the Son of God, it's talking about Jesus rather than a Son of God, which is talking about all of us. Though I struggle with, in our earthly plane, sometimes the language of man or a son, it has that masculine, language, but it's trying to speak to everybody. So I struggle with that one. Sorry, Harriet.
Now, I was going to say, if you go back up to the first sentence, it says nothing can prevail against a Son of God. And then, like you said, when it comes down to, what was that, number 4? It says the Son of God is part of the Holy Trinity. So I'm thinking that when it says the Son, he's talking about collectively all of us.
I read in the book earlier when it said that it talks about the Son of God, it was referring to Jesus. And when it says a Son of God, it's not, it's referring to all of us. And I appreciated that, because it does something that I've been questioning for a while in terms of how we see ourselves in relation to Jesus. In that there's a West African village that said that their ancestors walked with Jesus. And so the way that they saw Jesus was a big brother, rather than the rather than looking at Jesus the way that he didn't want to be looked at anyway, to be worshipped and all of that. So that brought me comfort there, because it just rises to who we are, and that we have that connection to source as well. And as Jesus said, he didn't want to be worshipped, but the other thing was that in the scriptures talks about how we would be able to do the same acts that he did. And I was like, oh, word? I mean, I don't know if I can. And I guess as long as I say that I can't feed everybody with fish and water with a little bit. As long as I say that, then I won't be able to. So let me start manifesting that power.
Mhm.
I know that's right.
Did you know Penelope's um she has a strong desire to walk on water, is what I'm
Oh,
trying to say.
absolutely.
Well, she could do it.
Absolutely. And I know that I can. I know that I can. This is one of the things that we forget as individuals, because we have been so uh indoctrinated into the density of the human body and its ability to fail, but
Precisely.
when we switch our when we have our true perception, we will be able to see our bodies as whatever it needs to be, whatever the body needs to be. If the body needs to be porous, it can be. If the body needs to be, denser, it can be.
Right.
And I think that um as the closer we get to that number, that first sentence, when we are commending our spirit to the into the safety of the Father, into the safety of omnipresence, um then I can know that I am everywhere. I am everything everywhere all at once.
Right.
There is no thing that I am not, and I can hold on to the integrity of my egoistic part, because I can be contained in this shell, in this body. And and I really do believe that that's what Yeshua came here to show us, and and to help us do, but Richard, I would like to I would like to. I know you said you sometimes you struggle with the male concept of Jesus. So what is your concept of Jesus, the Son of God, as part of the Holy Trinity?
Oh, I
And
don't
I
have a problem.
might ask.
No, that's not my issue. My issue was that in language, um, because it's been male dominated,
Mm,
since the beginning of time, that oftentimes when we look at scripture, we hear about sometimes when we use the words man or
Mhm.
mhm,
son, that
right,
it's more inclusive than our 3D minds allow us to understand.
right.
So when it
Mm-hmm,
says
Mhm.
here, nothing can prevail against a son of God,
mm-hmm,
well, for me, I see that as being all of us, regardless of our earthly genders and so on and so forth.
mm-hmm,
It's
right,
just hard to have that conversation because, we're rooted in what those words mean now.
Mhm.
right. Mm-hmm,
Mhm.
yeah.
And I have to go along with Richard there, because when I first started reading, uh, or first started studying A Course in Miracles, and I was constantly being hit with this male um, concept encompassing all of humanity. But the longer I study it, um, the more I delve into it and try to understand it, the more comfortable I am. And now, um, when I see it as all inclusive.
Hmm.
The phrase,
Mm-hmm,
son of God, or the pronoun him or his, or whatever pronoun is being used at the time, which
mm-hmm,
carries the male concept, but it actually is all inclusive.
Right. Right. And
mm-hmm,
more it's more prominent for me. And when they say man, which
Mm.
yeah,
oftentimes I read it as mankind,
mankind, yeah.
Mhm.
but it is hard to get in conversations with people who are, Well, it's hard to get in conversations with that because I'm a man and I'm understanding that and I say that and say, "Oh, you mansplaining." I'm like, "No, I'm just okay, never mind." just keep it going. Because I ain't trying to argue about it. Like I get it. Like you don't feel included, and I can't tell you whether you should or shouldn't. The only thing I can say is go with them, beloved, and you know what I'm saying, allow your energy to show you the way.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Uh, uh, anybody want to read number 5? Okay, I will.
Oh,
There is no confusion within its levels because they are of one mind and one will. There is no confusion within its levels because they are of one mind and one will. And that to me is the totality of everything, of, creation, of essence, of source, so there's no confusion in its levels because although there are clear levels, we're talking about, especially if we're going by, on the Trinity, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. Although we are going, there's no confusion because that there is only one concept. It's like just like you were saying earlier, Richard, that there are different departments that are within this one company, and these each branch holds something so that the company itself can be whole.
right.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree with you. The thing that threw me off was the levels. I had never thought of them as like when I read levels, I think hierarchy. And I had never thought of them that way. I'd always thought about the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit as being
one.
As being one.
One. I hadn't thought of them as being Father, Son, and I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about that. That feels weird.
There, I think I was going to say there is no confusion within its levels because they are of one mind and one will. I think because remember, this is Jesus talking, and he's dictating it to Helen Schuckman, and I think what he's trying to address there is don't think about level. He's, those that have that confusion, he's trying to reassure them and let them know, hey, there is no level. We're all one.
Yeah, but I'd appreciate it if Big Brother Jesus had said that there was no levels, rather than saying there's no confusion within its levels. But that's all right. I'm gonna talk to him later on. Figure out what he talking about.
But isn't there an explanation of levels somewhere? In
the course?
Say that again.
Yeah, isn't there an explanation of levels in the course?
I wasn't aware, but that's a good question.
Because I think I remember something else about levels. Seems like we have discussed levels before. That concept. KL.
I was just looking at the.
I'm trying to think. Was it in the
teacher's manual?
Because I thought I remembered something about reading something about levels before, but I'm looking in the glossary and I don't see anything here.
I was just looking at the table of contents for the workbook. And I don't see anything here. Let's see if there's anything in the principles.
Seems
Okay,
like
12 says miracles are thoughts thoughts can represent the lower or bodily levels of experience, or the higher or spiritual level of experience. One makes the physical, the other creates the spiritual. And that's miracle principle number 12.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just seems like when we first started talking about perception, maybe that was in those those earlier chapters. It talked about different levels, and I don't know where my Course in Miracles. Oh, wait a minute, here it is, right here.
What glossary of terms?
Like in those like in that first chapter somewhere, chapter 1, maybe in I just remember talking about levels, but this is something that we can look up and see if we can, for some homework. It's some homework that we can probably do, because I just remember again, because just like you said, Richard, why bring it up?
Right.
Why bring it up at all? And I do, and so I think that when we first started talking about perception is when this whole idea of levels, when levels came in, because we perceive at different levels, maybe, and I can't remember what it is or how it was explained earlier, but I think it's because of experience, and for some odd reason, I want to say it was because of experience that we, in our minds, experience, see things at different levels. There's different levels of understanding and different levels of awareness.
Okay. But
don't hold me to it. I'm gonna look it up so that by next week, I'm gonna see if I can't find out where it is.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is for me is that I keep equating levels to hierarchy, which would mean that one was more important than the other. And I think that's where I'm getting thrown off, is that I don't have to think about levels that way.
Right. Yeah.
And
yeah.
frankly, to be honest, and Harry, you were saying this earlier, is that whether there are levels or not, I guess I'm just less concerned about that and more just realizing that I can see them as one mind and one will, as I have already, and I think that just seems to play out, pretty well. I do have a question, and somewhere in the course, it kind of talks about spirit, mind, and body in terms of level confusion. When we think of the Trinity, okay, so spirit, Holy Spirit, mind. Yeah, no, they don't equate. The spirit, mind, and body don't equate to the Trinity. They are three very different things. So okay, never mind. I just figured out. Yeah.
For some odd reason, I can't find. It's got to be in the manual for teachers.
What are you looking for?
The thing about the different levels of the spirit, mind, and body, and that that type of level of confusion.
What are the levels of teaching? That's the third one. And what they're talking about.
I used to have this. I don't know how come I can't find it. Is like a little thing.
What?
Oh, excuse me, goodness.
Salvation is always.
Oh, clarification of terms. There we go. Clarification of terms.
the third section, like, or chapter or whatever they call, of teacher from the teacher's manual or manual for teachers. What are the levels of teaching? And
If you go to like at the back of my book anyway, right after the manual for teachers, then there's the clarification of terms.
yeah,
There's mind, spirit, there's the ego, the miracle, the forgiveness. And I think it's kind of like right up in there for some odd reason. But like I said, I'll look it up
yeah,
for over the weekend, but over next week. But I think but this is kind of important. And like, you know, and just like one of the things, Richard, you had mentioned is that, you know, you didn't, you know, this is how you perceive levels as hierarchy.
Right.
You know, and I guess most people do, because you know level 1 is, you know, usually the basic, you know, you just learning. Level 2 is, you know, a little bit higher. So, you know, by the time you get to level, you know, 63, you know, you're pretty high up there, you know. So I think that yeah, so you know, and that's a big part of perception, is how do we see that? And right here it says, where 5 is saying there is no confusion within its levels. The Trinity itself has no confusion because they are of one mind and one will. There is,
Right.
so you know, so there is no a hierarchy, even if somebody else says it. And and you know, to be honest, I mean, that's kind of like how I was, because you know, I went to Catholic school, went to catechism. So you know, God the Father was the highest, God the Son was next, God the Holy Spirit was, you know, next, but they were all three together, like, and they always showed us the picture of a clover, you know, so like a 3-leaf clover. So you saw the God the Father at the top, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, you know, kind of equal, but you know, it always went from Father, Son to Holy Spirit, you know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
okay. Now that you mention that, when they do the sign of the cross, what do they hit 4 points or 3?
4. God
And
the
so,
Father,
yeah.
God the
So
Father
what?
at the top,
And the Son and the Holy Spirit on.
yeah. The Son is the heart, and your left and your right shoulder.
Okay.
Because you're making the, you know, the sign, you know,
The sign of the cross, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is the fourth?
It's holy, the Holy Spirit, the Spirit, Holy Spirit.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You want to move on to number 6?
Sure. The single purpose creates perfect integration and establishes the peace of God. And that makes all the sense to me. That makes all the sense to me. When we understand that separation is an illusion, we understand that, you know, that, you know, even within the realm of spirit, there's one mind and one will.
Yeah.
That, and understanding that, that single purpose, that single focus, that singular, you know, movement, then we create perfect integration and we establish this peace, this God-centered peace.
Yeah. And you know, and just I like that, you know, that the whole, you know, the whole thought of it is a single purpose. You know, it's the singularity of it. Because you know, that we complicate things much more than we need to. Um, You know, we really don't, we really don't, half the time we really don't even need two, because one is sufficient. You know, and especially, you know, that just, you know, and I've told this story many times before, and I'm gonna tell it again, because it's one of my favorite stories that I learned from some of my study in Buddhism, that there was a boy who never could, you know, he went to school with all the other students, and they were going through their rudimentary things about learning numbers, and he couldn't get past one. He just didn't, you know, he just couldn't figure out. It just didn't make sense to him. He just couldn't get past one. So, you know, as time went by, the years went by. So anyway, the teacher was an old man. He was going through the town, and he ran into this, you know, the now young older man who was the boy. And and when the boy saw the teacher, the master, he said, I think I understand one now. And he took him to this boulder, and it was a singular boulder, and with the number, with a wave of his hand, he split the boulder in two. So with the power of with the power of that singularity, this he was able to split a rock in two, a boulder. You know, so this is how much power we have when we are of a single mind. And that's what I was saying with this morning. This was the thing that came to me in my meditation. And I knew absolutely that today's session was all going to be about everything all at once. What was it? Everything all at once, everywhere, everything everywhere all at once. Is
Right.
that, you know, we were going to be a part, that we are all a part of this omnipresence. There is absolutely no separation anywhere. And that's what we need to be perceiving. So if I have an angry thought about my neighbor, that neighbor is going to feel it at some level, you know, and vice versa. But you know, whether I'm aware of it or not, or whether I act on it or not, or whether any, you know, you know, it still has warped some part of that vibration. But that's even made up for, because there's everything all at once everywhere.
Right.
I'm just amazed by this.
Yeah, I think I'll say this and be ready to move forward when y'all are, but I think it is this concept and this idea that has made me realize the limitations that are presented to us by the language that has been created.
Yeah.
And that there are ideas that, you know, spiritual ideas and concepts and precepts that are very difficult for us to talk about because we don't even have the language for it. And I,
Right.
for some reason, feel like maybe this is deja vu, or we've had that conversation in here before. Penny, I remember you saying something along these same lines for some reason.
Oh,
That
I say it all the time.
yeah, that,
That's one of my big things.
yeah,
I just always believe it's the language.
Mhm. Mhm.
Hmm. And not
mm,
only, you know, not only when I'm saying language, I mean like every spoken language. You
right,
know, we can't fathom the wholeness of spirit, because, you know, it doesn't need a singular language. It can speak all the languages all at once, along with the feelings and the emotions that are attached to those languages.
right. Yeah, I agree.
Hmm. What was that? Six?
Mhm.
Yeah, that was 6.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Ariel, you want to read seven? I can bring it up a little bit. Let's calm
Ooh. Yet this vision can be perceived only by the truly innocent.
down. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Oh
It's that
God.
word again.
And I'm so thankful for it because in the last couple of days, I haven't been tapping into the innocence. And that's probably where I've been a little off. So Interesting.
Mm. Yeah.
But it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. It's hard to understand that unless you are looking, through a sense of innocence, of this sort of childlike wonder, this sort of learning and unlearning. I guess the unlearning has to happen in order to get to the innocence. Or maybe it's all part of the same. You have to unlearning and learning aren't necessarily two separate processes. They happen at the same time. When you learn something, you're unlearning something else. So, but yeah, it's going to be really hard to see any of this if you haven't, tapped into that innocence that we all have. Makes sense.
Mhm.
But
Um,
Hmm. Interesting.
hmm.
What do you think of Harry?
Um, I was just thinking about what you said. And focusing on that word innocent. Um, let me look up the word innocent again. Because, um, pure guiltless or naive person, a person involved by chance in a situation, especially.
Is that in the course?
No,
No,
I
Okay.
was just looking up. I was just looking up the word innocent.
Yeah. See, this is how you're gonna get turned around. If you look up the word innocence, look up spiritual innocence, and
Spiritual innocence.
that'll start getting you to the right direction, because that's where we always get turned around as we think about innocence in
when we look at it through
in the justice system, and
right.
and right and wrong. And I think
Mm-hmm.
this
Yeah, because
idea, this
I think I had that problem the last time I looked it up. That's why it's not
yeah.
Yeah.
embedded up there.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time.
Hmm.
But I think
But
if I can just
mhm.
interject right here real quick, um, yet this vision can be perceived only by the truly innocent, and when and this is something we were talking about earlier, and I was saying, why am I calling myself? Why do I say that that I'm not um that I'm not fully complete? Why am I still holding on to a concept of limitation? How come, yet this vision can be perceived only, by the truly innocent. If I'm still classifying myself as outside of the only, or if I'm still classifying myself as not completely, not truly innocent, but kind of sort of got it, you know, that's just me telling myself something that I don't have to believe in. I don't have to believe that,
Mhm.
and I can simply believe that I can see the full vision, that that I am truly innocent.
Yep. I co-sign that. I was thinking that when you were talking, I was like, yeah, and because we was thinking about earlier when I was talking about levels. Like,
Mhm.
there's levels to some stuff, but then there's also spaces where I don't think there are necessarily levels. And so I think, I would say that everybody on this call is truly innocent.
Yes.
Now, there may be moments when we um I won't say backslide, but I'll say there are moments when we may struggle.
Mm-hmm.
However, those are moments and not the whole.
Right.
And I think, on the end, oh, this is pretty relevant. Yeah, the way that someone explained to me the journey, and I've heard the same thing in the last couple of days, is it's not like go 2 steps and you take a step back. It's not like
Right.
that. It's like going up a spiral staircase. And if there's and you're always going up, but you never go backwards. You may just stay in the same place for a little while
Mm-hmm.
until you start
Mhm.
grappling with some stuff. And so I think, when I think about this truly innocent piece, based off of what you're saying, Penny, it just seems like to me we've already passed that staircase
Yeah.
that
Mm-hmm.
would define us to be truly innocent. And so now it's just, implementing and um getting out the old habits that
Mm-hmm.
continue to infringe on us.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now this is interesting. The Christian Science Monitor says the power of spiritual innocence, the innocence that children so naturally express, is usually thought of as the absence of something, experience or education or sophistication.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then going down a little bit further, what is spiritual innocence? Spiritual innocence is eternal and it is powerful, as Jesus showed us. It doesn't coexist with sin and guilt. It overcomes them. This is what the resurrection tells us, that true innocence, purity, and goodness are spiritual and eternal. They come from God. I like that. I really do, because no matter what we experience, what we go through in life, it it says, well, how do I? It says it's telling me that no matter what we go through in life, sometimes we need to, like you said, Richard, stop and smell the roses, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say just really quickly, like what it feels like to me when I feel like I'm in a state of innocence
Mm-hmm.
is what the Buddhists call no mind,
Yeah.
when you just don't have any thoughts going through. And then
Nirvana.
uh I guess I don't know, because a lot of times when I hear people talk about nirvana, it kind of lends to this sort of state of happiness. And I could be wrong, but that's just what I've always thought
I
about when I've heard it.
Well, it's
okay.
it's a place of ultimate peace.
Okay, so yeah, so then so
So yeah.
so
So
yeah, I
Nirvana.
would say that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Um, but like innocence for me is no mind, and so I don't have no feeling, no thought, no nothing. And then when I encounter something, it's almost like I'm singing it again for the first time. I have an ex-girlfriend, and I just had a conversation with her, and it was like, wow, I'm seeing you again for the first time because you're so different than who you were, before, but also because my perception of how I'm trying to see things is trying to get true perception rather than the perception that's clouded by my ego or my past experiences with them.
Mm-hmm.
So it is like I love toddlers and I love young people, because when you watch them and they're they got a lot of questions, and
Mhm.
they're seeing it, and they're kind of like maybe amazed at what it is that's happening without the desire or the need to judge it as to whether it's
Yeah.
good or bad,
Yeah.
Mhm.
that it just
Mhm.
is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they show not only that, but children and adults that are mentally challenged. show that same kind of innocence, if you will. They're just accepting. They have that childlike innocence about them. And
Mhm.
to me, there's a lot that we can learn from individuals that we consider mentally challenged.
Mhm. Well, that kind of segues into number 8. Because their hearts are pure, the innocent defend true perception instead of defending themselves against it. And I think that when we first kind of, got around to, talking about innocence, and I remember one of the things that we had talked about is that we don't have to defend ourselves when we know the truth. When we know the truth, it's, regardless of whether somebody else has gotten, how what their perception of the truth is. When I know that I'm telling the truth, and I know that the truth is going to reveal itself. Um, that's the thing that I trust in. And I think that as we, and I want to say humans, the more or the less I don't know which word it is, that we are dependent on time, the
Did you say time?
time, yes.
Okay.
That, like something has to, that something has to be proven in a certain amount of time, or it has to be shown in time, that, time itself lends to it. I think that that's the thing that shrinks the time, so that I'm not when my true innocence, because it is, I believe it so completely in my heart, there is no lag time between the thought of it and the demonstration of it, if that kind of makes sense. And I'm not only talking about things that are manifest, but just through language. It's, if I am saying something that is so completely um plausible, you can, oh, excuse me, please. If I'm talking about something that is so completely plausible, uh there's going to be something that's within your spirit or somewhere within your mind that you're going to be able to pick up on it and see what I'm talking about. And I don't have to, I don't have to explain it like I'm doing right now. you know, because I know that that there's that connection, and I think everybody can kind of feel it. When everybody, when somebody else just gets it, you know. And that's what I think that's what I think that, I don't have to defend myself from your perception, because I know that I know that I know that and you know that I know that whether we are actually choosing to be on the same page or not, but there's still there's still some kind of thread that runs through that, where everything, where the connection is easily recognized.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your concepts on number 8?
Um, I think it's, uh, looking at it, thinking about, just my journey into this world of innocence. and try to embody that. I think I find myself at times, pushing for true perception. I mean, Harriet, that's what we talk about history, right? Like this is what we're generally talking about, you know?
Mhm.
Now, of course, sometimes we get caught up in, the underlying agenda as to why we're telling the story the way we're doing, or why we're inserting the interpretations the way we are. But for me, I think just, when I find myself feeling like I'm in a state of innocence, I don't feel myself trying to defend myself away from it, because that defense is the ego.
Mhm.
The innocence and that ego can't coexist at the same time.
Right.
So in that state of innocence, I don't have to defend myself against it. I'm defending for it to exist, for
Mhm.
recognition, for acknowledgement, for um and I think it all comes back to, I don't know how you can be innocent and not be pure of heart. I just don't see how that could even be possible. So
Say that again.
I said, I don't think that you can be innocent without being pure of heart. Like, in order to have that degree of innocence, your heart has to be pure. You have to
Yes,
be open to all of these things. You have to,
yes,
you know, recognize and acknowledge. And it's not like the ego doesn't just go. It's not like it goes away. I mean, it's going to still
Right.
feed you.
Mhm.
it's just, it's just, when you're pure. I'm sorry, when your heart is pure, when you're, dealing in innocence, then to some extent your ego doesn't exist, because you're not even paying it attention.
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
still lurking in the background though,
It's still
trying to.
lurking. It's still lurking. But remember, a few weeks ago, we were talking about how when love exists, or when this goodness exists, that evil doesn't anymore. Like, you don't even acknowledge it. It can't reach you.
Exactly.
I've been hearing that a
Like
lot
I,
the last
like I,
week too.
like I said, sometimes when my son is being playful and I'm involved in something and I don't want to be disturbed, and I just say to myself, as long as I ignore it, it'll go away. Ignore it and it'll go away.
Peace out, Tommy.
No, no, the
Okay.
other one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I see is that, you know, the ego is just another level. It has its place. It's good in its place. It is when we take it out of its place and put it somewhere else to make it do somebody else's job. You know, um, you know, and if we and because it's so many um everything is so many rules based around the manifest, the thing that you can see, taste, feel, hear, and smell, and all of that. It's so it's so many rules based around that to uphold that thing. So we think that thing we have taken put that what we call ego above what is the essence of self, that pure heart. So when the ego thinks that it's in a level of hierarchy and it is at the top, and for whatever reason we choose to serve it at the top, we are not only confusing ourselves, but we're confusing the ego too, because now the ego thinks that it should be you know satisfied in this way, or it should be bowed down to, and it should be or even if we're thinking that we have to forget the ego, or toss it aside, that still is putting it in a place that somewhere separate, where and it's still out of its own place. But if we see it as, you know, it's cog in its wheel. You know, like my grandmother always used to say, there's a place for everything, and everything goes in its place. You know, which I haven't learned yet, but I just remember her saying that, and if we and I think that if we live by that, then we really don't have to, you know, we don't have to defend true perception, because everybody can see the whole thing.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
And I'm looking at the time. Can I read 9 and 10?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Well, we started late, so I mean, you
Oh,
know,
okay.
if you got to run, that's cool. But we
Mm-mm.
didn't
No, no,
start
no.
until 6:15.
Okay, no,
So
no, no. I'm good. I just you usually our timekeeper, and so I said let me give her a break this time. Well,
thank you.
I'll read 9 then. Um,
Okay.
understanding the lesson of the atonement, they are, and they being the innocent, they are without the wish to attack, and therefore they see truly. Again, comes
Mm,
back to the whole concept of this whole
mm,
section where we're talking about true perception.
mhm,
I think the thing that I want to highlight though is the idea that they don't wish to attack.
mhm.
And I think that's important because um that's pretty difficult in this age
Yeah.
when, you know, as we identify with the ego that oftentimes leads us into this sort of 3D um social construct that we exist in, that if someone does us wrong or says something that we don't like or anything of that nature, that we have a desire to attack rather than take a step back, understand the lesson of the atonement, and see truly that what was said or what was done, we can only see it through that one lens. And that there's a whole nother, you know, there's other perceptions that we
Yeah.
could gain by looking at the circumstance so that we can be at peace rather than feeding our ego to tell us more about what we aren't or what we're not going to take or what we're not going to
Mhm,
tolerate, you know, those sorts of things.
mhm.
And I think that's a big message. That's a big message today. I had somebody tell me today, relationships should be transactional. If they not for transaction and exchanging, then what they for? I said, well, I don't know what they are for you, but for me, I like relationships. I come to relationships for growth and development. I come to them for consciousness,
Yeah.
not for happiness. I was talking to somebody the other day. I said, I don't strive for happiness. I said, I strive for consciousness. I still have this color skin on this plane. And so there is a sort of awareness that I have to have as to what that means and what it means when I see somebody else going through, you know, going through something. And so if I'm chasing happiness, then I might find myself trying to be happy when I should be taking in lessons and learning. I said, I'd rather that's that my deal. No, no, no. I'm not chasing happiness. I want to be conscious so that I know how to enjoy the happiness when it arrives, and I know how to deal when it's not happy, when there are tough moments.
Mhm,
In other
mhm.
words, go through the 5 steps of sea bears.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We trying to get the commercial right?
And speaking about the at the end, Richard. So I am going to want you to, you know, speak about your, you know, you said you had a book or a lesson plan. I do want you to talk about that, but that's till the end. So,
Sure. Oh, I got you.
but yeah, I agree. I do agree with you, because especially when it says attack, without the wish to attack, because a lot of times we are, but a lot of times when I think that I'm attacking somebody else, I'm really attacking myself. You know,
Right.
I'm really, you know, beating myself up, or, you know, just like you were saying, Richard, you know, oh, I'm not going to take this, I'm not going to take that. And then, you know, even those thoughts like that causes stress in your body. You can feel your blood pressure rising, and, you know, you're getting angry, and, you know, you're getting tight across across your forehead and your temples. You can feel all of that in your body.
Mhm.
As I if I am in an attack mode.
Yeah.
And understanding the lesson of the atonement. And that's Harriet's thing there, right there. Hey there. And that's Harriet's thing right there, is that we are in the part of atonement. Thank you. My daughter just came in.
Oh,
hmm So Harriet, you want to read number 10?
this is what the Bible means when it says, when he shall appear or be perceived, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is.
See, that's a big one right there, because everybody waiting for Jesus to come out the cloud in the sky. It's not that we're gonna.
But look at the sentence. The he in each instance in that quote is in small letters. The he and the him, rather. They're all in, everything is in small letters.
But so
That's interesting.
No, I know. I'm just saying that what am I trying to say? It's not the divine that when he shall appear. Who's the he? Who's the him?
When I read the front part of the course, they were pretty intentional about saying that the lowercase was us, and the uppercase. In this case, I mean, initially when I was reading as you were reading, first thing that came to my mind was it was talking about Jesus. But just because of the capitalization and what you brought up, it makes me think that we're talking about us.
Yeah. Well, I would like to see where that is.
What's that?
That sentence 10.
Yeah.
Because then that way we would know what we're talking about in the Bible. Because if this is a quote from the Bible, and the quote that I remember from the Bible, we are talking about Jesus.
Yeah, I think reading it more, when he shall appear or be perceived, and we shall be like him. Like, I think it really is talking about Jesus.
Yeah. But
like,
I would, I know that certain lines in sometimes they have footnotes to tell you where it is, what they're talking about. And this one doesn't seem to, one doesn't seem to have it.
1 John 3rd chapter 2nd verse.
Okay. Oh Lordy. I got to move my body to find a Bible. Okay, well, just go ahead and read it for us, Richard.
Sure. I'll read it from the I'll read it from the King James. Let me make sure. Okay. Beloved, beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when we shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. That's wicked, because it's saying we are the sons of God.
And what did you say that 1 John?
1 John 3rd verse, I'm sorry, 3rd chapter, 2nd verse.
Ow. 1, 2, 3. Trying to get it up. No, I'm trying to get it set up. Oh. Some of her stuff is downstairs. Okay.
Yeah, and like you said, I'm just wondering, could that possibly, no, it can't be, because if it was an error, one or two of them H's would have been capitalized, not all of them in lowercase.
Right.
Yeah. And the other thing that I think we need to remind ourselves from time to time is that what we are reading is what was dictated to Helen Schuckman, the person who started this whole thing as far as A Course in Miracles is concerned. And she refers to it as the voice. Or she refers to Jesus as the voice. I don't know, this has me befuddled.
Well, just because I have looked at a lot of things, most of the times things that are in they're like, let's see, does this, yeah, I mean, it has quotes, but it doesn't have a footnote as to where the quote is. So it's kind of like, somebody said, like, it's kind of like somebody said it, but they don't, they're paraphrasing. So it's not a direct quote.
Okay.
That's how I have always seen things in, things from the Bible, written from the Bible about in the Course of Miracles. Because they don't always show, it's not always
they don't
word for word.
reference, they don't
is,
reference
right, and something about it is different.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Taken to her. She kind of sort of heard it and didn't write it down right.
Who knows? Who knows?
Right.
That's usually how I see it. But for me, the whole thing about it is about perception. Am I going to perceive myself to be just like him? Because he said I was. He said, not only will I do the things he does, I'll do greater things than him.
Oh, shoot.
What's wrong?
I was this is wild. So yesterday I was having some of the pre-moon energy fluctuations. And I remember sitting there and all of these thoughts, just all of these guilt and shame and just all of these shadows were lifting up. And I remembered coming to a space where they had all gone. I was no mind. I felt just an overwhelming amount of just contentment and what I would call peace. And I said, wow, imagine Jesus having to endure all of the tomfoolery that was happening around him and him having to navigate through that in a way so that he could reach Satori, peace, nirvana, to reach that state. And I was like, I bet you the way that I'm feeling now that Jesus has felt that way before. And it was like such an epiphany to, one, I would do this by myself. or if I was in the presence of y'all, but maybe not others, because we're not supposed to compare ourselves to Jesus
Right.
apparently with some
Mhm.
folks, right? But in my comparative analysis, I was like, oh, I'm 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 having this moment. I bet you Jesus had moments like this.
Mhm.
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 And does
Mhm.
anybody know if like there were places in the Bible? Like I think there were some places where Jesus was questioning himself, right?
Let's see. Well,
I'm not
definitely.
going to say
Oh,
questioning himself, but I know when he was in the garden just
yeah.
before his crucifixion, um, he was desiring that what he knew was going to eventually occur. He was asking that it not occur. That was the first thought or the first instance that crossed my mind when you asked that question, and I didn't get much beyond that.
Yeah. See, here's the thing that I'm finding that's interesting is Jesus was also human, right?
Exactly, exactly.
So did Jesus ever experience doubts of himself?
Yes,
I would
I
think
think
so.
that everything that he went through, if we were to study all of and I think the book of Thomas might perhaps give us a little bit more insight into experiences that the other writers of the Gospels left out. And I think that if we look into the book of Thomas, and probably there's one or two other Gnostic Gospels in which talk about that period of time um, on this planet, that because my concept is he was a man, he lived and walked on this earth, and there is nothing that we as human beings, individuals, do not experience that he did not experience. And if we look to him as an example or as a model for how we should conduct ourselves, we'll find the answer somewhere.
Well, I also know that it did say, and I don't know which gospel where it is, but when he went to Nazareth, especially, that none of his none of his miracles worked. And he was amazed by that. And that was one of the things that was said. He was amazed that none of his miracles. I mean, very few of his miracles worked in Nazareth.
Right.
So
Well, that was his hometown. And didn't he also at the same time say something about the fact that, you know, things work elsewhere, you're accepted elsewhere, but not at home?
mhm. And I think that just to kind of expand on your point, Richard. I'm sure that first time he reached out his hand to heal somebody and they didn't get healed, I bet you he said, "What the? Wait a minute, let me push that button again.
It
Let me
wasn't
Look,
hit
it
this
wasn't the
rock
right
one more.
time.
Let me hit this rock one more time." you know,
you
and
know,
um, and the thing that I found fascinating, because in that study, and I'm sure that that there is somewhere else that I just can't think of right now. I'm sure that when as he was doing it, he saw the bigger picture, that this is not even about me. This is about them not believing.
mm,
This is
Mhm,
about them not having faith, because
mhm.
this is the same miracle power that I use way up yonder and way over east and somewhere else, and it works everywhere else but here. So, I think that that is a point that you make, is that, this is why we can perceive ourselves in him. Because if
Mm,
we are the body of Christ, which,
Mhm.
I think all Christians say that we are the
Mhm.
body of Christ, but they just don't allow ourselves. We don't allow ourselves to be the body of Christ.
They
You
say it,
know,
but do they really believe it?
I think they do not, because just like what you say, you better tell me all the counts who you talking to. You better not say that. You better not compare yourself to Christ.
my
Better
God, my God, why have you forsaken me?
Mhm.
not.
Mhm.
That in and of itself is doubt.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
I
Yep.
found an
Mhm.
article and maybe I can put it in the chat.
Mhm.
Um this thing got me in goosebumps over here because I am seeing different passages and spaces where they are talking about Jesus had doubt. And
Mhm.
this is super important because there was another site that said that no, he didn't have doubt because then he wouldn't be the son of God, and that would what they say, faith, not faith, but doubt. They were saying that doubt
Mhm.
is a sin, and what this other place is saying that um doubt 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 isn't as much of a sin as you're talking about, and but when you're looking at Jesus, it was his faith. His faith wasn't replacing his doubt. It was his faith moving forward in spite of doubts.
Mhm.
And I think that's just a super powerful message that everybody should know if they talking about Jesus. That
Yeah.
Jesus was he was a God man. He wasn't God's Superman. He was
Mhm.
human, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
he had doubts and he dealt with doubts and he worked through them. So
Mhm.
can we.
Exactly.
And the thing is, and this is where, that whole concept of time, he worked through them instantaneously. Because whoever he was healing, he helped. Because they said, it was only a few people. I'm going back to my instance. There was only a few people that he was able to heal that day, but he understood that he has the mind of God. So
Mhm.
Right.
he understood that, that in real time, these people, they don't have they don't have this in their memory banks yet. They are outside of time. So, that's why I think that it's really interesting when we are claiming our identity of I am, that we do that we you know that we suspend all of the things that we think that we rely on, especially if it has to do with anything that we do in the manifest.
Right.
Well, it's 6:57, so I wanted us to I thought I was going to, tell us, everybody, let's get, start our round table around about 6:45. But hey, this was really important, because I think that, we in order for us to break down the words so
Mhm.
that each of us understands where we are and what we're talking about, we need time. That's the importance of time.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, so what did we get from today's session, and how can we apply it to our lives? Okay, well, I can go. One of the
Okay.
main things that I got from today's session is, I'm going to go back up to the first line if I can. Um, uh, to present my spirit into the hands of the Father. I think I really want to understand that concept of safety and surety, insurance, presenting the best of the whole of me, and allowing and not putting myself into limitations. like, I know that, a lot of times we think that we gotta, be clean, you gotta be dressed up when you go to church, but that whole concept is limiting, because, if God sees our soul, he don't even see our clothes. It's
Mhm.
just your neighbor that does. So that's the thing that I get from it. And the thing that I do want to get a little bit more into this whole concept of study about body parts, God's body parts, like the hand, the head, the right hand of God, his feet, those things like that. So who's next?
Well, for me, today's lesson, first of all, the just revisiting the whole idea of innocence to me was important. And I am on how can I put it? I'm on a journey to try and recapture that innocence so that I can get to that point where I can, if I can use your phrase, Penelope, walk on water.
I know that's right.
And the whole idea with this Course in Miracles and my interest in the chakras is to try and I want to be a healthy individual, because I want to be around this planet until I'm 100 years old. And the only way I can do that is by adhering to the lessons of A Course in Miracles and being of a mindset that I can be whole and healed, and live a happy and, shall we say, peaceful, pain-free life.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. How about you, Richard?
For me, yeah, it was definitely, the idea of coming back to, the connection between innocence and seeing perfectly. And seeing perfectly for me, and I think I expressed this to somebody today, is, for me, it's grounded and rooted in the fact that we are beings, that we are interconnected beings across the globe, human, but also other, saying life forms, that we're all connected with one another. And that the ideal is for us to embrace this sense of innocence, to understand the connections, but to also gain a better sense of seeing, true perception, being able to see what's in front of us and also what's not in front of us, and accepting it as for what it is, as a circumstance. Accept it as a circumstance before we create a belief around it. Ooh, there it go. I knew it was gonna. Okay, that's it. That's it. I'm now, see, y'all see what happened. I'm making a connection now between the sea bears, and more of these morals, spiritual precepts and concepts. It's starting to make sense now. So okay, thank y'all for allowing me that space.
Thank you. That was beautiful. That was fantastic.
Wow.
Because we can see the connection. Well, everything's connected.
Yep.
Yes.
Everything's connected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's it for today's session. Now tomorrow we're gonna go back to doing I Am with Forrest. So we'll be doing I am from 11 to 12 tomorrow, and then from 7 to 8:30 tomorrow evening we will have our book reading of Flight. The book Flight is getting better and better, betterer and betterer all the time. Let's see, what do we have? What's this Saturday? I don't have my.
Isn't it?
Is this the
Well,
first? This would be the
It's the
first
first
Saturday.
Saturday.
So
Gospel of Thomas, isn't it?
Gospel, yeah, the Gospel of Thomas. So we'll be doing the Gospel of Thomas this Saturday, and this Sunday. We had decided last time that instead of doing having a
Journaling.
journal group, that we were going to just kind of just have a writers group. So if you got a story that you want that you've been working on, or a poem that you want to talk about or discuss, or any form of writing, or something that you want to create. Do you want to write a cookbook?
Creative.
So that's one of the things that, so we're going to, so instead of it just being journal group, so now it's going to
Transcend.
transfer over to being a writers group. We'll see how, and we'll see how long that lasts.
Okay.
And I think that's it. Oh, except for now, don't forget that on September the 30th at my friend Sandra is going to host Inner Haven another movie day for us. We used to have them all the time, but haven't had one in a while. So, and we're going to watch the movie What Dreams May Come. I haven't seen it in a long time, but so what we do is we look at the movie and then we discuss the metaphysical, the metaphysical framework that the movie presents. So I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen it in a long time. Like I said, I know it has Robin Williams, Cuba Gooding Jr., and it's a lady in it. I can't think of who she is, but I'm not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna watch it until we see it on the at the house for that party. And of course, I will get Sandra's address to everybody. And we always have what you call it, potluck. So, you know, come hungry for food and for fellowship and fun.
Spiritual as well as physical food.
Exactly. Well, that's it for our session today. Unless anybody has any questions or comments, or
Nah, I'm just gonna give me a new plant.
what plant you gonna get?
I got to get another majestic palm, because the one that I had, it rotted because it was too wet. It's a doggone problem. I don't have the patience, and so I keep watering it and watering and watering. And so I still got some work to do. If I can't get this plant, if I can't get my plants right, I can't be in no relationship. I'm gonna do the same thing.
You're killing all the plants.
Killing all the plants. Huh? I can't have no relationship till my plants is right.
Oh man.
That's all righty. I can close us out in prayer unless you want to, Richard. Harriet opened us up.
No, I'll go ahead and let you do it. I'll be ready next week.
Okay. Let's just center ourselves in wholeness and peace. And today we really had a great discussion of omnipresence. And as we see ourselves completely whole, everywhere, all at once, everything all at once, everything everywhere all at once. As we see ourselves in that capacity, not only us but everyone, we won't see a separation between light or dark, or positive or negative, or with everything will fit in and blend into itself, and everything will be in its proper place at its proper time. And this is one of the things that, as we walk throughout this this week when we come to, until we come back to next week. Let's learn all of the things that we took in today. Let's practice them. Let's apply them purposefully to our lives, and let's enjoy what we learn from them, and let's learn how to build on this truth, and allow and only see ourselves as innocent, and only see ourselves as pure hearts. And with that, we say we are so grateful for this life, for this opportunity, for this time. We allow ourselves to be full, to be rich, to be blessed, and we release this fullness and richness and blessings to each and every person, plant, animal, and thing in this earth plane. And with that, we say, and so it is.
And so it is.
So it is.
That was a great session today, everybody.
Thank
It
you.
was. Thank you.
Love
Thank
you
you.
all.
All right, love you.
All right. Love you too. Y'all have a good one.
Bye.
You too.
Oh, daggone. No, don't go, Richard.
Huh? Huh?
Before you go, please. I had meant to do it last time and forgot it. And the thing, can you tell us a little bit about your Sea Bears session that you have? And you said you had books available.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell
Yeah.
us about that.
So Sea Bears, Sea Bears is really a practical tool that I'm now, getting ready to I just prototyped it with our team just a couple days ago. And it's actually going to be the leading online course, facilitated experience that I'm going to be putting out to get people together, because I think it's important for us to understand, the connection between what we see in terms of the circumstance and the interchange that happens between that circumstance and our beliefs, our emotions, our actions, and the results of all of those things. And working with people to look at it in two different ways. You take the same circumstance and how you would believe, emote, act, and what the results are in your current state, and then also look at it through the lens of the person that you're trying to be, your higher self. And so the way the course is working out is that we're going to have a workbook that accompanies it, and the workbook has a graphic display. It's like it's almost like there's a few pages in there where we have like a chart where you can fill in the circumstance and then identify what's your belief, what's your emotion, what's your action, and what's the result, so that people can begin to reprogram one, how they see circumstances, but then also get into this sort of exercise that we know so well, that we spend more time looking within as to what we believe and how that affects our emotions, cause people to look within more than they are looking out. And so I think this is going to be really helpful for people to be able to see. The workshop is going to be great because I'm going to teach the concept. We're going to work the concept together collectively, and then we'll have follow-ups in the oncoming weeks where people will take the workbook and look at, one or two circumstances that they experienced in the week, and be able to, kind of walk us through, their Sea Bears for those particular circumstances. So it's really, developing a sort of community of practice where, I'll come in and share the information, but then we're really just going to experience, have follow-up conversations and walk each other through the process and explore, how do we get rid of the programming and how do we step into, our higher selves.
Okay. And how do we join, and how do we get these books?
So, right. So I'm planning right now I had 10 people online who signed up to be my prototype, my guinea pigs, if you will. So I'm gonna take them through. Hopefully end of September, going into October, and then get some feedback from them. Once I get the feedback from them, then we're going on an all-out marketing campaign, and we'll have like graphic images and instructions and whatnot as to how the people sign up. But ultimately, people will be able to go to the collectivejourneys.org webpage and be able to sign up there.
Okay, journeys .org. And I
Correct.
know that.
Yeah. And I think, because of the nature of how we're doing this, I'm also bringing somebody in who's going to be able to help people um eh, develop some degree of coaching in
Mm-hmm.
this technique, because a lot of the people who are coming through and are going to be doing this, many of them are parents, aunts, uncles, so on and so forth. And we find it important that if we're talking about what kind of ancestors we want to be, then we also want
Mm-hmm.
to use the information that we have to arm our youth so that they can get a
Mm-hmm.
leg up on the type of ancestors that they can be. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a skill set that needs to be incorporated. As how to do it. Knowing how to do it and how to teach it are two different things. And so I have
Right.
some, one of my friends who's going to come in and do a bonus coaching session at the end of it to help people so that they can help others, because that's what our organization is about. You know, share some
Mm-hmm.
concepts and charge people to share it with others.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Welcome.
So yes, everybody. So go to collectivejourneys .org and sign up for some of Richard's classes that he has available. And and we'll also see you here, Richard. And I'm going to go to collectivejourneys.org and see what and put my name on a dotted line somewhere. Put my name somewhere on a list. So
Right,
I'm
right, right.
excited about it.
And just to let you know, it's going to be a couple of weeks, so it's going to be like the second week of September that we actually have the sign up, list up there. But
Mhm.
but when it does come up, I'll be posting it on TikTok and Instagram and all of Facebook and Twitter. It'll be all over the place, and plus I'll email you all sort of the flyer and whatnot for it.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
No problem. Thank
Super
you.
cool. Excited, exciting. All right, everybody. That's it for today's session. And we'll see you tomorrow morning.
All right,
All
sounds good.
right.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Love you all.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Great session.